Alright, what's happening, y'all, man? With all of these trades happening, with the 49ers moving up to the 3rd pick, with the Dolphins finessing everybody, and with the Eagles looking a little sad out there, I felt like this was the best time to go ahead and come out with my trade up scenario. It was already the mock draft next in line, and with all of this going on, it felt like the perfect day to drop it. So I'm here to bring it to y'all. I'm really excited of the potential of this happening. Y'all already know, man, it's a full 7-round mock draft. Y'all already know how I feel about this QB class right here. So I have us trading up to the 4th overall pick, and I would love to take any of the top 4 quarterbacks that are available. But we're going to get into that, and we have 2 more to come out with after this one. My dream case scenario, and then my most realistic one that's completely based on what players Rivera and company are interested in, who they've met with the most, whose pro days they have visited, sent the most people to, and things like that. It's going to be my attempt to be as realistic as possible and to get as many right as possible. So stay in tune for those next 2 mock drafts that are coming out before the draft hits late April. Let's get it. Alright, so I have us giving the Falcons our 1st round pick this year, 19th overall, our 3rd round pick this season, 83rd overall, and then our 2022 1st and 2nd round picks and our 2023 1st round pick. Pretty similar to what the 49ers gave the Dolphins to move from 12 to 3, but I threw in a 2022 2nd round pick, because I feel like that would be a good enough difference to go from 19 to 4 in comparison from 12 to 3. Plus, value compounds, and that 3rd overall pick has way more value than a 4th overall pick. Like, going from 3 to 4 is a bigger gap than 4 to 5. So I feel like just adding in a 2nd round pick in 2022 would definitely be good enough to make this trade up to number 4. And much as I hate the Falcons, hate them more than any other team in the NFL, if that's what we got to do to get our franchise guy, we just going to have to do business with the Falcons, man. But time to get to the fun part, the mock draft. Well, round 1, you already know, my guy, Trey Lance. I'm hoping the 49ers convince themselves into taking Mac Jones 3rd overall, with them basically being like Super Bowl ready to win right now. They may want to go with the guy that's more NFL ready day 1 than like a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields. Even though I feel like with Trey Lance, especially with his athleticism, you can easily run an offense that is predicated on running the ball a lot with the running backs and the QB. And then you can slowly develop them and work in more complicated passing concepts and responsibilities over time. Because like we've seen with Lamar Jackson, who Trey Lance isn't as fast as, but definitely is a better pure thrower, more polished coming out of college, and definitely stronger and potentially more durable. And then Josh Allen, who I compare Trey Lance the closest to, because I would just say Trey Lance is a little bit more accurate and a better decision maker coming out of college and faster than Josh Allen. But Josh Allen just has a slightly better arm and was tasked with reading through his progressions more than Trey Lance was coming out of college. But they are very similar in comp to me. And the Bills, even with Josh Allen being one of the least accurate quarterbacks I've ever seen in their rookie season, was still able to win games with a tough defense and a good run game. I feel like the 2021 Burgundy and Gold have a better defense and potentially a better run game than the Bills had with Josh Allen in his rookie season. And they were still winning games with him. So I don't see why you wouldn't be able to do that with Trey Lance. But still, I think the 49ers could potentially go with a Justin Fields, who's literally like the ideal fit for their offense, or Mac Jones, who's more NFL ready to win right now. And then that would leave us with Trey Lance. And I'll be flipping tables. I'll be doing backflips, everything. Because we would finally have our future franchise guy with Taylor Heinicke and Ryan Fitzpatrick competing for the starting quarterback role. Whoever loses probably the backup. Trey Lance will have at least a year to prepare, to develop, and to get ready. We do not have to throw him out there day 1. It's the perfect scenario for him. I mean, this is literally the ideal scenario for Trey Lance. Potentially the best defense in the NFL. A pretty good receiving core that's only going to get better after the draft. A very underrated O-line. And then 2 quarterbacks to learn behind that also use their legs to pick up yards. Now, Taylor Heinicke and Ryan Fitzpatrick aren't necessarily getting design QB runs, but transitioning from Taylor Heinicke and Ryan Fitzpatrick to a Trey Lance wouldn't be anywhere near as dramatic as going from Dwayne Haskins to Taylor Heinicke, or Dwayne Haskins to Kyle Allen, or Alex Smith to Kyle Allen and Taylor Heinicke. I feel like Taylor Heinicke, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Trey Lance could all run a very similar offense for Scott Turner, and he wouldn't have to stay up tirelessly at night every night trying to design another offense for another QB stepping in. I feel like Trey Lance can run the same offense that a Ryan Fitzpatrick and a Taylor Heinicke run. Smooth transition for whenever Trey Lance does need to come in, which will more than likely not be until 2022 anyway. And y'all already know how I feel about Trey Lance. Like I said, my comp for him is Josh Allen. I mean, he has a rocket arm, slightly below a Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and Josh Allen, but it's right there with him. He's more polished as far as accuracy, mechanics, and all of that than Josh Allen was coming out of college. I would just say Josh Allen was a more polished quarterback in the way as he had to read through his progressions more than Trey Lance had to in college. But other than that, Trey Lance is the more NFL ready to start day one quarterback than Josh Allen was. And again, you saw how the Bills were able to win games in Josh Allen's rookie season with him being one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks I've ever seen. But their QB coach worked with him. He had a great defense around him, a great run game to lean on, and he was able to progress. And now you see where the Bills are at 2 years later, making a nice little run in the playoffs. And again, if you're comparing last year's Bills to the burgundy and gold, I would say we have the better defense, period, just up and down. You could definitely say we have the better receiving core, because you're comparing Terry McLaurin and Stephon Diggs. I would honestly take Terry McLaurin, but Stephon Diggs is a very underrated wide receiver, but I'm honestly taking Terry McLaurin. I'm taking Curtis Samuel over Cole Beasley. I'm taking Adam Humphries over John Brown, and then we still have Kelvin Harmon, Isaiah Wright, Cam Sims, who all have a lot of potential that could end up working out. I'm taking our 2022 potential offensive line and our offensive line last year over the offensive line that the Bills had. They're very comparable. If anything, that's just a draw. But Pro Football Focus feels like we had the 6th best offensive line last season. I wouldn't go that far. I would say definitely easily top 15. But I wouldn't necessarily say 6th best. But if they feel like we have the 6th best, there's no way we were far off from it. I feel like our offensive line problems are definitely overblown amongst this fan base. And then coaching, I love Ron Rivera, love Jack Del Rio. Scott Turner's emerging, saw flashes. I feel like you get him his quarterback, and I think Ryan Fitzpatrick will show you this year that Scott Turner can be a genius. Scott Turner will finally have a quarterback in Taylor Heinicke and Ryan Fitzpatrick to show what his offense can do, and then he'll be grooming Trey Lance on the side. So again, I feel like with the Bills making it as far as they did in the playoffs last year, I feel like we're primed to go even further with the Trey Lance. And you can see in Trey Lance's pro day that he can make throws that most NFL quarterbacks can't make. That's why his ceiling is so high. His athleticism, his arm talent, it's all there. Coaches are paid millions of dollars to do their job. Develop this guy. Get it done. Josh Allen can do it. Trey Lance can definitely do it. Then round 2, 51st overall, and this is one of my favorite picks in this draft. You have free safety Javon Holland out of Oregon. The best pure free safety in this draft, period. With his speed, high IQ, great instincts, and really quick reaction speed, he's literally the best, just pure, rangy, deep, single high free safety in this draft. And to get him over a Trey Boston, I still would like a Trey Boston in free agency so that we can address linebacker with this second pick. But if we don't get a Trey Boston and Javon Holland's there in the second round, you have to take him. He's exactly what this defense needs. This would allow our outside corners to just straight up play man coverage. This would allow Cameron Curl to do what he does best in the box and covering tight ends and running backs. This would allow Landon Collins to move all around the box, and our linebackers could potentially blitz a lot because William Jackson and Kendall Fuller can lock up the outsides. Again, Cam Curl doing what he does in the box and in the slot, and then just letting Javon Holland just control everything on the back end. No fly zone. Basically what I wanted in an Anthony Harris. Defense is literally elite, and I feel like Javon Holland's good enough to come in and start day one over DeShazier Everett and Jeremy Reeves. I feel like he's that good. And then even better, he can cover. So he's diverse, and you can ask him to sometimes go up and man cover some guy if you have to. So that would allow Del Rio to disguise his coverages even more, because with Kendall Fuller and Cameron Curl and all of these diverse guys we've had in the backfield, Javon Holland will just be another diverse piece, and disguising coverages creates turnovers, especially behind the best defensive line in the NFL. Javon Holland's there in the second round, you take him. I mean, I love Trey Lance, but I can see the debate of whether or not to take Trey Lance 4th overall. But Javon Holland in the second round, there's no debate. You take him right there. There should be No arguments right there. Home run hit pick right there. And it's possible that he makes it that far because a lot of teams don't literally just need a pure free safety. They're still, again, the Trey Bostons of the world, and Anthony Harris is considered a top 3 free safety in the NFL. He's going on a 1-year, $5 million prove-it deal. So free safety is just one of those positions that a lot of teams don't consider a big need. It's one of the more undervalued positions in the NFL, and it's very possible that somebody like Javon Holland could slide to the second round, especially since he doesn't double up as a great run defender. Somebody that could just step up in the box and make plays there as well. So I truly believe he can make it to our second round pick. Moving on, in the 4th round, with our 125th overall pick, I was taking tight end Tommy Tremble from Notre Dame, and I know I picked him in the previous mock draft, but I'm putting my name beside him. First of all, because of his talent, but also the Burgundy and Gold have virtually met with him multiple times. If he's available in the 3rd or 4th round, we're taking him. Like, you can pretty much just go ahead and write that one in. We have a big need at tight end too, and Tommy Tremble solves that issue easily with the potential to easily make Logan Thomas go to tight end too, and then we potentially have the best tight end duo in the NFL. Possibly even better than Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. If Tommy Tremble is good enough to force Logan Thomas to become tight end 2, when Logan Thomas is clearly a tight end 1, we have the best tight end duo in the NFL, which is beautiful for a young quarterback like a Trey Lance. Makes this team extremely quarterback friendly. But like I talked about with Tommy Tremble in the previous mock draft, he has lots of untapped athleticism and potential. Everything you see on tape in spurts is excellent. Potential best tight end in this draft other than Kyle Pitts. The only problem is you just don't see it happen often. He was not utilized much at all for some weird reason by Notre Dame. I don't know why. They had this freak athlete, this great talent, and just decided, let's just not use him that much. I don't know. But whenever they did, he showed out. And then another negative is that he's not the ideal inline blocker. I don't believe he'll ever be as good of a blocker as Logan Thomas, which kind of isn't fair because Logan Thomas is a great blocker. Like, you could argue he's one of the better blocking tight ends in the entire NFL. But Tommy Tremble's definitely good enough, way better than anything we ever got out of Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis as far as blocking goes. You could even argue he may even be a better blocker than Jeremy Sprinkle. We'll see. But one thing he does do blocking wise is when he goes to the second level, he's punishing linebackers and DBs. I mean, he's pancaking them. He's attacking them like they stole his money. So at the very least, the passion and the athleticism is there. You just have to work on his blocking technique a little bit more. And then, like I said, the untapped potential in the receiving game is unmatched. The only other person in this draft you could say has better receiving potential than him is literally Kyle Pitts, who a lot of people feel like is the most guaranteed future Hall of Famer out of this entire draft, regardless of position. Tommy Tremble could literally be like a Darren Waller clone, and I just feel like the only way he may make it to the 4th round, and again, I think it's possible, is because of the very limited film he put out there. Because it's basically the same thing with George Kittle. George Kittle, in spurts, looked electric for Iowa. I mean, you could see the potential very rarely that he had at Iowa, but his quarterback situation was so bad and he just was underutilized, so he made it to the 5th round, pick 146th overall. That's even further than this. Tommy Tremble is a very similar situation. Not a great QB situation. Better than Iowa's by default, because Iowa, when CJ Beathard was out there throwing ducks, so George Kittle could never really show what he could do consistently. Tommy Tremble is in a very similar situation, and I could definitely see him making it to the 4th round. Again, with the very limited film he has out there, showing what he can do. Teams may be afraid of taking him too early in the draft and risking him being a bust. But if he makes it to that 4th round, you take him in a heartbeat. You sprint to the podium. Then in round 5, 164th overall, I have us taking cornerback Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky. Developmental corner with loads of potential. Excellent length for today's NFL. The ideal length for today's NFL. Exactly what you want. And then plenty of experience going against the best of the best in college. He had to cover Alabama receivers. And most importantly, he was the one that was primarily in charge of covering Kyle Pitts when they played Florida. There's no fear in his heart. He also has great ball skills. He knows how to high point the ball, pluck it, has pretty good hands to come down with the fan interceptions. And then what I like most about him is that he's versatile. He can both press man and is smart enough to excel in zone like we've seen at times. Now, he has been inconsistent, but that's mostly because of his lack of experience. So if you take this guy, develop him, And within like 3 years, we're probably debating over who's the best 4-syllable name cornerback on this roster. William Jackson or Kelvin Joseph. I believe in his talent that much. I think the potential is definitely there. Don't depend on him to contribute early, but I really feel like within 2 years or 3, him and William Jackson potentially make up the best outside corner duo in the NFL. And then we have 2 7th-round picks. We do not have a 6th-round pick. So moving to round 7, pick 245th overall, I have us taking wide receiver Cornell Powell. And this may be my 3rd favorite pick of the entire draft. Because for the final 6 games of the college season, he literally looked like one of the best receivers in all of college football. Route running, separation skills, hands, jump ball ability, ball tracking, which is really hard to find in receivers and really hard to teach for some reason. A nice release to build on, not perfect, but he's shown that he can beat press man, is just pretty inconsistent. High IQ and yards after catch, big yards after catch. And you can see from this receiving core we've assembled with Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries, and you can also throw Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick out there. We're yards after catch guys. We're probably the best yards after catch receiving core in the NFL. We may not be the best overall, but yards after catch, we got it. And Cornell Powell adds to that. He's the whole package. I mean, literally, the wide receivers version of Tommy Tremble shows you everything on film in spurts to be one of the better guys of his position out of this entire draft. But for some reason, his team just didn't use him much. Now, when DJ came in place of Trevor, you started to see Cornell Powell start to really explode. He literally averaged 120 receiving yards per game the last 6 games of the season. I don't know what it was, but when DJ finally came in the game, it just sparked something in him, or it finally sparked Clemson to use him more. And then for the remainder of the season, Cornell Powell again looked like one of the better receivers in this draft. I honestly feel like if Clemson treated him like wide receiver 1 the entire season, he would be up there with the Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddles of the NFL draft. He's that talented. And again, I feel like he may make it this far because teams may see him as a developmental guy. And again, just like Tommy Tremble with George Kittle, the same logic. Teams may not be willing to take him high in the draft because they fear he may not pan out. And maybe those last 6 games were just a flash in the pan. For me, I scout traits. All of the traits are there to be a number 1 receiver. Literally like a Josh Gordon type of guy. The potential for him to be a wide receiver 1 type of guy is definitely there. And most importantly, with how deep our receiving core is now, it's not like we're asking him to come in day 1 and be our best receiver. I mean, at this point, he's competing for wide receiver number 4 with the potential for there to be an argument of who's better, him or Terry. The talent is there. Go watch the film if you don't know about him. He's ridiculous. It is so crazy that people just have not heard about him. It's so crazy that Clemson waited so long to finally start throwing to him consistently. Moving on with our final pick in the draft, our second 7th-round pick, 247th overall. I have us taking edge Chauncey Golston out of Iowa. And I feel like he's the perfect fit for our 4-3 defense as a rotational early down run defender that is also good with stunts. He's great against the run, which is why he's better as a rotational early down defender. And he bullies tight ends on the edge in run support. And he can stack and shed against tackles to make stops in the run game. And he's not a great pass rusher at all. And with his fairly limited athleticism, I don't ever project him to be a great edge rusher on the outside. But he can definitely penetrate from the inside. Like I said, he's very good with stunts. He's a very strong, high motor guy that can come in on early downs, especially obvious running situations, so that Chase Young and Montez Sweat can catch an occasional break. And then Montez Sweat and Chase Young can be out there on the more important downs like 3rd downs, and specifically obvious passing downs like 3rd and long. And plus, you never know, maybe Ryan Kerrigan can come back for cheap since his market isn't as great as he thought it would be. He wanted to go somewhere and start and potentially get top edge rusher money, or at least decent edge rusher money, but you never know. Maybe if no teams are giving him what he wants, he just when in doubt come back to play for us for at least another year. And then him and Chauncey in a rotation is dominant. Again, Chauncey is the ideal 1st and 2nd down edge rusher to stop the run. He can do everything that you need for that. Stack and shed tackles, bully tight ends, run tight ends into the tackles, and set the edge very well. Literally what we wanted Ryan Anderson to do, but just more dependable and consistent and definitely stronger. Because Ryan Anderson was more of a 3-4 outside linebacker, edge rusher type of guy. And I felt like we should have at least tried him at Sam linebacker just to see, because he showed some coverage ability in 2019 towards the end of the season. But Chauncey is literally a 4-3 edge rusher defensive end that's dominant against the run. Again, not great against the pass, which is why he would make it this far, because of course an edge rusher that's not a great pass rusher on the outside is not going to demand a high draft pick. But I can see us easily taking a chance on him. That way we don't have to go and get a guy in free agency, because edge rusher depth right now is a low-key pretty big need. It's not up there with our other needs, but like it's definitely not something to sleep on. Right now it's just Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and I don't know. So to be able to bring back a Ryan Kerrigan and to be able to draft a Chauncey Golston with our final pick in the draft gives us potentially the best edge rusher depth in the NFL. And Montez Sweat and Chase Young are already the best edge rusher duo. So from 1 to 4, our edge rushers are going to be dominant. And Jack Del Rio's smart enough to utilize Chauncey's best strengths, again, bringing him in as a rotational run stopper. But yeah, that's the draft. I'm really excited. I love this draft. I'm not going to lie. I'd be willing to give away all of that value to get a Trey Lance. I'm not going to lie. And then even beyond Trey Lance, the other picks are just such great fits. And if I had watched more film on a Cornell Powell, on a Kelvin Joseph, and even Javon Holland, I probably would have taken them in previous mock drafts. I mean, I feel like they're that good. I feel like my mock drafts are only getting better and better. And I know we didn't address linebacker in this draft, but my point of view is we run 4-2-5 nickel 60% of the time or more. So we only need 2 linebackers out there at a time anyway. Second, I still think we bring in a veteran linebacker through free agency. But at the end of the day, Cole Holcomb and John Bostic aren't a great duo, but I feel like they're definitely good enough with this top D-line, the best D-line in the NFL, and one of the better secondaries in the NFL. And I feel like them two are good enough to be the final pieces in the best defense in the NFL. We don't need elite linebackers. We need good enough. Cole Holcomb has a speed. John Bostic is dependable. Limited, but dependable. I also feel like Khaleke Hudson has potential. He showed flashes last year, and I would love to see what he does with a bigger role and more responsibility, more snaps and all of that. But again, we only have 2 linebackers out there on the field the vast majority of the time anyway. So it's not like we need to have 3 studs. We just need to be able to throw 2 guys out there to just fulfill that role. Plus, we still need to find a way to use Landon Collins, because I feel like Cameron Curl has earned that starting strong safety spot. I don't know how you bench him. I don't care how much money you're paying Landon Collins. So if we can get Landon Collins to play like a nice in-the-box role, maybe not exactly linebacker like he keeps saying he doesn't want to play linebacker, but if we can use him how Jack Del Rio used TJ Ward back in Denver when Denver had arguably the best defense in football those seasons, I feel like we're straight. Again, I still think we're going to address linebacker potentially in free agency with a nice depth signing maybe. Or maybe we go and get like a Quan Alexander and take a risk on him even after that severe injury he had. But the talent is there. He's one of the better linebackers in the NFL. Top 10 arguably. It's just whether or not he recovers from his injury. But you may be able to get him for cheap. And again, at the worst, we only have 2 linebackers on the field 60% of the time or more. We may even be in nickel even more next year. So I feel like if we don't go linebacker early in this draft, it's not the end of the world. I still feel like we would have the best defense in football overall. Now, I am one of the people that feels like we need to address linebacker in rounds 1 or 2. But if you're trading up for Trey Lance, your future franchise quarterback, potential top 10 quarterback in the NFL, first of all, that masks weaknesses in itself. Because if you look at all of these other teams, Pat Mahomes with the Chiefs, Josh Allen with the Bills, Kyler Murray with the Cardinals, all of these guys, their teams are not complete at all. They have holes as well. But their quarterback play is so great it makes up for it. I feel like Trey Lance can do that. But also, Javon Holland at free safety is just somebody you can't pass on. Literally, potentially the next Justin Simmons, Anthony Harris, or Trey Boston on his best day. And then from there, with it being a no-fly zone, you just figure something out with linebacker. When in doubt, Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio can go out there and play linebacker themselves with how good this front four and the secondary will be. But yeah, man, definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this mock draft, how you feel about potentially giving up all of that value to move up to get a quarterback, even if it's not Trey Lance. If you prefer Justin Fields or somebody, let me know in the comment section. And as always, please like this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification every time I release a mock draft like this one. All of my informative videos, all of my live streams, all of my film sessions. I've been working on this William Jackson film session all night last night and all day today, but all of this that just happened made me have to move this mock draft in front of that, and that William Jackson film session will come out Saturday at the latest, maybe even tonight, as in Friday. And as always, man, I really appreciate all of that support, man. Big shouts out to everybody that likes every video and live stream, that shares all of my videos and live streams. Big shouts out to everybody that donates. Really appreciate all of y'all. Huge shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.